We're going to do a kind of a chat with Erik Tenkar from Tenkar's Tavern, and we have Celestian, also known as AD&D Mike, who has adapted the official licensed rule set to Fantasy Grounds as far as Classic, First, and Second Edition go. And when I was trying to think of a show to do for Founders Day, I couldn't think of the best people I'd want on here to talk about this. So we got the person who's developed the rule set, and then we also got our buddy Tenkar here, who has a pretty good history and connections with the community, and he's also got his own YouTube channels. Both of them do, actually. We'll plug that at the end. But welcome, guys. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So starting with Erik, what was your impetus here for role playing games?
Impetus.
Yeah.
Okay. We're pulling out the Gygaxian words now, aren't we?
That's right.
Right from the start. I mean, I guess I came into gaming right with the whole Satanic Panic era. Came in that Christmas break of '79 and '80, and interestingly enough, within a few years, I had a great aunt who was a Catholic nun, didn't believe in Vatican II, Latin Mass, and she was staying at the house to keep an eye on my grandmother. My parents were away on vacation, and dear Aunt Norma could not sleep one night because it was too hot, because wearing the coif and all that stuff. And I was using my parents' air conditioner downstairs, so she went into my bedroom in her boredom and found all my D&D stuff.
Oh, no.
And God bless her. I really do appreciate her, and she called my parents at 8 o'clock in the morning to tell them that their son was a devil worshiper, and she was going to do them the favor of throwing out all my D&D books.
Wow.
And my parents promptly called me right afterwards on their phone line downstairs and said, listen, we just got this call from Aunt Norma. We told her not to throw out your D&D books. We'll take care of it when we're back from vacation, which means they're not going to be thrown out. And in the meantime, I know it was summertime, right? It was summer. Yeah, we know your friends will be coming over to play like every day. Play something other than D&D. I know there's other games. Play something that isn't. Play that science fiction game that you guys play or whatever. So when people talk about the Satanic Panic, I almost experienced it directly from within the family. So
how about you, Mike?
I just have one comment on what he said. I actually played for about 2 years with a Catholic priest in our D&D group, so it's a lot different depending on who they are.
Oh no, definitely. I have two friends online that one's a Catholic priest and one's Eastern Orthodox that are avid gamers. Although the Catholic priest plays God, what was it? SSI game, Dragon Slayer. But there was an SSI fantasy game. They don't really play D&D. They play one that's probably more satanic in its way of looking at things. So, yes, you are correct on that.
I growing up, I don't think I was started as early as Erik did, but I had, a similar experience with my stepmother. She's pretty religious, and she found books that weren't mine. They were my friends, and she took them away from me, and she made my friend come over and ask for them back. It was a whole embarrassing thing. My friend doesn't even remember it, but it just, it's one of those things, just not the greatest experience. But for me, as far as why I don't know why I enjoy D&D or AD&D specifically, but everything that the job that I had, it's all kind of connected to what I started doing. Originally it was like, oh, I want to, MUD's back in the day, and I wanted to code a MUD, and because I wanted it to be like D&D, and so it's just like ever since then, it's just jobs that I've gotten have been related to either system administration or coding or that and the other. So that's just kind of why why I do what I do. The rule sets, and I have two hobbies. My primary one is like AD&D, and the other one is coding.
Really cool.
Well, it's nice that the two of them interact with each other. That works out really well.
Yeah, sometimes that's rare. It depends. So having both of you here together, that was one of my plans, is to get you guys together. I don't know what's going to happen after the show, but I'm hoping you guys will work together or do a project together or something in the future, whether it be related to the industry or not. But that's one of the premises I have for this community, is to bring people together. So it wasn't just about having the best of representation of this rule set and the classics, but to have some decent people get together and talk about role-playing games.
Thank you.
So I don't want to waste a lot of time on my stuff, but for the Satanic Panic, I basically kind of went through similar thing that you guys went through. My mom was cool with it because it kept me out of trouble, and I was reading and writing and doing math and drawing and all kinds of stuff. But my mom's boyfriend was a Vietnam vet, and he had a very kind of had the Satanic Panic thing going on. He told my mom that it was for devil worshippers. Luckily, my mom stuck up for me and said, well, if that's what he's doing, at least he's doing it at home. So that's basically what she told him.
Yeah, that was like my mother's opinion about D&D was, I know where my son is, and I know where his friends are.
Yep.
She was happy to have us. We broke like 3 dining room chairs because excited gamers that are occasionally overweight, jumping up and down in wooden chairs, will occasionally break them. And my mother's like, it was worth replacing a chair on a yearly basis to know where you all were, to know that you were having fun and not in trouble. We all had parents that really, took care of things, I guess, in the end, right? Allowed us to grow as gamers and grow as people because of it.
Yeah, I don't regret it at all. I actually fell back on gaming quite a bit, in different stages of my life. So it wasn't just like all the way through, started off and then I stopped for a while, I started again. So I had good experiences all along, and I think I've always kind of gone back to it in one form or another. Mike, did you play the SSI games back in the day? Did you go in and
games? Oh yeah.
Did you go back and edit the floppy disk?
No.
You didn't do that?
No. I back then I didn't know enough. Nowadays,
man.
I do know. I'm like, I want to go code it in the VTT instead, so that I can play it, live. So.
I remember.
I don't know what was worse: the go to page 76, paragraph 2.
Oh my God.
7th word, or to have the wheel.
Oh, that was worse.
I think the wheel was worse. But by the way, it's an aside. If you do like the old Gold Box games, they are a humble bundle, $10.
Yes.
Nice.
All of them.
Games.
All of them.
That's so much fun.
Hills Far sucks. All right, I'll tell you that much right now, folks. Don't even bother redeeming that key. You'll be happier not to. But,
go straight to Polar Radiance.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
So back then it was like 1990, I think, or 89 or somewhere in there. I had a girlfriend who was a gamer, which was really cool back then, but she knew how to go into the floppy disk, and you hole punch it or whatever to get past the copyright. And she knew how to go in and edit the characters so that you can adjust them a little bit. But she was disciplined about it. Like if you go in and edit the stats or whatever, she wouldn't go crazy. She would just maybe raise it 1 or 2 and then lower something else. So she was pretty fair about it. She even fixed some broken code that wouldn't let you progress. So that was cool.
Nice.
Yeah, those Gold Box games that Eric is talking about, they come with a thing called Gold Box Companion, which will let you tweak some of that stuff, like what you're talking about, the ability scores or camp. Instead of having to do all the camp stuff, you can just hit a button and it'll camp you and do it all, and you keep going. And
Nice.
has a little map that instead of having to know exactly where you are without a map, it had like a little map, and it's like a really crude, like old school D&D sort of square boxes and all that stuff for the rooms and doors and stuff. So it makes it much more playable for today's type of person, especially. There's no way I could play the old game.
No, it's too
I just
slow.
don't have patience.
You didn't enjoy mapping out like Bard's Tale and like trying to find like, oh, there's that one box that I never got into. There must be a secret door there. Oh my god.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Eye
You
of
had
the
it.
Beholder was like that too.
Oh god, yeah. Eye of the Beholder, what, 1, 2, and 3? I think there were a number of those in the series.
Yeah, I used to love
Yeah.
those games. I miss those a lot. I should play some of those again.
Yeah, I'll post the link for that Humble Bundle that he's talking about. But yeah, I've had them a long time on Steam. And I think I had them on GOG too. They had them there like dirt cheap. But
yeah, I remember going
Yeah.
down and actually buying the discs, the CDs.
Oh, the floppy.
DVDs.
Yeah, I
floppies,
mean,
man.
this was the beginning of the Gold Box when they first started getting licensing for it. They had them out on CD-ROM in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, okay. All right. So that was because like with Pool Radiance, it was floppies, and there was nothing worse than having to swap a floppy and then watching that Commodore 64 multicolored screen pop up and realizing, oh shit, it crashed and I didn't get a save in.
Oh yeah, that sucked. So
Yeah.
what if there is an adventure that was your guys' favorite from 1E or 2E or even the basics? What would that be? Do you guys have one that you can think of?
The one I enjoyed running the most was Temple of Elemental Evil. I must have run that 3 times between high school and college with different groups, because it was a campaign that went from levels 1 through 7, 1 through 8, and it ended on enough of a climax that you could wrap it up and walk away from it, and you didn't feel like you had to figure out more. It was nicely contained, so that's why I enjoy that as a DM.
Yeah.
As a player, I didn't play much as a player for D&D. I was the official D&D game master in my group, but others would run Rifts or Gamma World or whatever. But if it was D&D, it had to be me. So I didn't get a chance to play too much. It was always my perspective as a GM when it comes to adventures. And for me, T1 to 4 was the sweet spot.
Well, for me, it was there's ones that I really liked. I mean, I like G1 through 3 a lot when we played it. But the one that I remember is the very first time I actually played, and it was B4, the Lost City. And I didn't get past like 3 or 4 rooms, but it stuck in my head. The guy didn't have a lot of time to run it, and it was just me and him, and it was just me trying to learn how to play. It's the very first time I'd ever played, and I still remember the little fire beetles in the first room down, the little ladder, and so for me, that sticks in my head. I had a lot of fun in all the other ones, but yeah, that's probably the one I like the most, and I converted that one for Fantasy Grounds too.
Nice. I think my thing was Ravenloft and Pharaoh, and then the main one though was Dragonlance. I think those are what really got me to want to be the storyteller or GM, because I was also reading the novels as I was getting the book. So that's something I miss in role-playing games, is that they've kind of went away from that, the publishing alongside the release of the games. I don't see that as much anymore. And it's something that I think is important, especially for game masters, to kind of get a better grasp at the setting and the lore and all that sort of thing.
Well, I think what it is that TSR like overdid it. I mean, when you're getting a Pool of Radiance, Curse of the Azure Bonds novelizations coming out for the computer RPG, it was almost like shovelware fiction at the time. So I think they killed their market by oversaturating it, and I don't know if the new WotC wants to get back into that type of a market.
Yeah, probably right.
I have a question. You said you like Dragonlance. How did you run that? Did you just run it like it was with the pre-made characters and kind of straight through it like the books?
Yeah, I did. That's basically, I tried to emulate some of the stuff in the books, and it was pretty
and your players
close.
followed along with that?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, they kind of because of the way it was written, and you had enough information as a game master to kind of steer it that way. And I had my own little, I call it a deterrence thing, where if they go too far off the path, I'd make these. I had a table that I'd roll on, and it would spoil their food or have some kind of encounter that would set up to scare them. Not a combat encounter, but just kind of like a setback, or you hear a dragon roaring in the distance. So I always had some kind of weird a deterrent table is what I called it, and that's basically what I used to keep the game on the rails without saying no, you can't do that.
See, my gaming group, and this is my high school, college gaming group. We tried T1, T2, and I was told to never bring them back to the table after that because they could not handle the idea of that strict storyline that had to hit the same notes and keep it going. my group was never going to be able to stick with that. And God bless. This was back in the 80s. I still get together with the same group of people once a year, so we still keep that connection going with the group, despite Dragonlance and me trying to run it. So.
That's why I asked, because my group's the same way. They, anything that you set up that would be something that you think the group would do, or you kind of intend for them to do, and it's never that. And especially if you give them, at least these guys, and again, it's high school people I played with since I was a kid. They're gonna, do the exact opposite. If you tell them here's a thing to do, some NPC tells them that, they're like, oh, I want to go do something else, or I want to go around and do this other thing. So I love reading the Dragonlance stuff, but it would be very hard for me to run that as is.
Yeah, we tried to do a Lord of the Rings kind of D&D type thing, and that never turned out because everyone wanted to be like the dwarf, or they wanted to be the elf or whatever, and it was never like the movie. I mean, you had them where they want to join Sauron, and so that how that goes. Like, we don't want to be good anymore. We want to be evil. We want to take the elves out, or something like that.
It's more fun. That's where the excitement is. Yeah, I know.
Have you guys ever played Evil Party?
I tried it when I played in my high school days. I had two main groups. I had a group in New York City and a group in the Poconos because my grandfather had a place in the Poconos, and I spent summers and weekends up there a lot. And the guys in the Poconos wanted to run with assassins and
nice,
go like the half orcs and go full evil. And I think we did a couple of sessions, and as a GM, I was like, dude, I can't keep this going. I was like 16. I'm like, I can't.
I hear you.
It was too draining for me.
Yes.
I can't do it. So yeah, briefly.
Yeah, I did that too. I kind of did like 3 sessions, and basically the party was so overly powered and so evil, and they didn't get along, and they killed a gold dragon. And when I or maybe a gold or silver or something, but they killed a good dragon. Once that happened, I was kind of mad at myself for letting that happen, but I wanted to give them that that satisfaction, but at the same time I felt horrible, like this is not the way to go.
Well, we never had. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that would have been the D&D my great aunt would have imagined us playing, and that's probably why it didn't work.
We never had a full group. We had this one guy in our high school group that played a thief, eventually the thief acrobat, and he was constantly stealing stuff from the party, and he was definitely evil. In fact, I think he was Drow. He was from the Unearthed Arcana stuff, so we had all that to go with too. And eventually, he irritated me and the barbarian enough that we decided we'd had enough. He had stole something very important from one of our characters, and the barbarian beat him up, tied him up, and we had griffins. This was, we were all high level at this point, and just kind of threw him off the griffin at a real high height. And to put my part in, I lightning bolted him as he fell.
Nice.
And yeah, it was. We just got so. That was how angry we were at the time.
Oh yeah.
The character was a total dick.
That can ruin friendships, to be honest with you. Because I know it shouldn't, but it does sometimes kind of leak out past the table. You got this resentment, and you got this guy who used to play with you, but now everyone hates him because he did this, that, and the other. But God forbid, when my gamer girlfriend broke up with me, man, I didn't want to play D&D for a while. She left me for another DM. He is one of the one people.
He is one of the one people that doesn't play with us, but for different reasons. We still all hang out together. So
that's cool.
But I could certainly see how that would. I have had people to where we had a kinder in a group, and you know how they are. They just kind of snag things and, oh, this is yours, and give it back, sort of thing. And he kind of got really upset, and 3 games later he quit.
Yeah, they get in a rage quit.
Yeah, I mean, and he was a new guy. He wasn't, he didn't know what to expect. For me, it wouldn't bother me, but or somebody that understood, what a kinder was, that sort of thing. But he just kind of felt like that, he didn't understand that it was a RP thing. It wasn't a malicious, I'm going to take this from you thing.
Adventure design, I have to say, I like the Pharaoh series because of how they designed the encounters. I don't know if you guys remember. But it had like a section. It had a section in there where basically it gave you the setup, it gave you the reward, and it gave you the tactics. And each encounter or each room or each section had that for each one. And I thought that was useful for especially if you're newer to Game Masters, for playing that through. It gave you tools for each one of those things, and it was written to where, if you didn't have anything or you're brain dead, at least you had that. And that's kind of the way I like to see adventures written, is to have some of that stuff in there. Maybe not quite to that extent, but I do like to have some stuff in there in case.
I mean, I think it also depends on on your group and your style as a GM. I mean, even when I was younger, I was a minimalist in a lot of ways, and that my prep was minimal, but my improv was high. So I like to riff off my players, and that's the reason why Dragonlance was not a good fit for me or my group.
Yeah,
because it was telling me that you start out at A, and by the end you got to get to E, and that's where you got to get. And I was used to, my players think that might be a mimic. Oh, you know what? Maybe it would be fun if it was a mimic. I didn't plan it, but let them be right for once. All right, we'll run with it. That was my style, and it's still my style. So, wanting to anybody who plays with me at a convention, watch what you wish for, because sometimes your outward talking might actually result in some in-game things happening. Just saying.
Yeah, I used to play both ways, but I like both. It just, like you said, it depends on the people and the game.
Oh yeah, there are some people that, some groups who prefer a lot of structure, and I think it also depends on the rule set, you know, and how tight you stick to it. I play a very loose AD&D when I run it. It's certainly AD&D, but I don't use all the fiddly bits. But if you're somebody that uses all the fiddly bits, you're probably also somebody who wants more structure to the adventure that you're playing in. So you gotta balance it for the player and players and the GM.
Yeah, that's true. So, Mike, I got up Fantasy Grounds now, looking at the Tomb of Horrors. I have the rule set, kind of just the basics here. So, Fantasy Grounds, if I understand, is one, if not the only, virtual tabletop with the actual license.
Yeah, it is the only one with licensed TSR era content.
Wow.
There is
How did
no
that
one
come
else.
about? I mean, can you tell us some?
I absolutely. It was mostly Doug. Back whenever I was writing the AD&D rule set, it wasn't called that back then. I just called it AD&D Core. It was just like it was going to be something people could use mechanically to play AD&D on Fantasy Grounds, with no content because no license. But as he saw how things were playing out with the rule set, I gather he liked what he saw, and they already had the D&D official stuff, and so he used his contacts to reach out to them and say, "Hey, we have a person that's working on this." And I told him, said, "Look, I've already converted all this stuff from the core rule CD. I sucked it in and did some code that converted it, over to where I could use it in Fantasy Ground, and then I, made it much more consumable." And he saw that and he liked it and convinced them that, hey, yeah, this is a thing that we can do. And um, it went on from there. And I'm very grateful for him for doing that, because that's I'm sure it's made it a lot easier for people to be able to jump into the stuff. I mean, I can, use any rule set, or any VTT and pull all this stuff in, and it's a shitload of work. But most people don't want to put that time in. They want to just jump in and play. You want to slap down T1, Triple Elemental Evil, and just start playing, next weekend. You don't want to have to sit there and code all that stuff and convert it to in the rule set or the VTT. So being able to do that, it saves a ton of time for people and makes it much more convenient. So
Cool. Erik,
yeah.
what sort of things have you think for yourself? Like, have you benefited from gaming? Like, just name some things you can think of that changed you, other than obviously having fun. But
I mean, apparently I'm a shy person. I
okay.
don't know. I was growing up. I think gaming certainly got me out of my shell, and being thrown almost immediately into the DM's seat, and being that center of of the session, um, got me out of that shell, certainly. But D&D teaches you sometimes even like life skills. And I was a cop for 20 years in the city, and I was a rookie in the South Bronx. And there was a moment where I did not know what to do in the situation I was in. And then I took a second to step back out of myself and said, if I was role playing in an RPG session, a police officer, what would I do? Because it took the immediacy out of it, right? And allowed me to say, oh, well, if I was role playing this is what I would do, which wound up being, thank God, the right choice. But it allows you to sometimes even just step out of the moment and step back and evaluate stuff. Because gamers, we work with averages, right? We're if I I've only got a 15% chance to hit if I attack with my melee weapon. But if I can flank, I increase. We're doing all that stuff, and we're not even realizing that we're mathing it out in our heads. So that applies in a lot of ways to real life. Even medical issues. I'll be the first person going to a doctor. Doc, give me the numbers on this. I want to know. No, I want to know the numbers because I'm a numbers guy in this case. And it's probably one of the reasons why, again, as a cop for a while, I was in CompStat. I did the precinct statistics because we think about that. Gaming, when it comes down to it, is really boiled down to numbers. Your number stats, everything, so you can look at it quickly and evaluate. So for me, a lot of it applied to real life without even realizing at the time. I find it to be pretty interesting in retrospect.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Can you ask the question again? I want to make
Sure.
sure I understood what you're
So
saying.
basically, how has gaming changed you or shaped you or perhaps helped you over the years?
Okay, yeah. This is an easy one. We kind of talked on this before we started the call, but for me, whenever I got into D&D, it really motivated me to learn things that I could do to do more D&D. Back in my day, there were MUDs, which were similar to D&D, but for me in my head, they weren't enough, and I wanted to learn how to code it. I wanted to learn how to run the operating system it was on, so I got into system engineering and I got into coding, and so every job that I've had since has been kind of related to that. So it's helped me as far as that, and they're my two hobbies, AD and coding. I mean, that's kind of why I have like 3 different VTTs that I've written rule sets for, so that not just me, but somebody on whatever rule set or whatever system they're using, they could play the game. Just because I don't know, I like making sure people can do it and make it as easy as I can.
Yeah, I use it as a coping mechanism because my family life wasn't so good when I was a kid, and we were broke, poor, single mother, no money, and to be able to create and to play something out of nothing. So to me, it was like magic. It was like I have not very many toys. I don't have a lot of hope, but the game kind of gave me that relief that I needed from all the stress and all the negativity going on in my home, and it allowed me to grow as a person and kind of get around all this stuff like alcoholism and drug use and you know domestic violence and just all kinds of stuff. So it's always been a part of me because I'm thankful that it was there for me at that time when I really needed it as a kid, and I'm still doing it. So obviously that whole era has impacted me, and that's why I created the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Actually, is because one, out of frustration, because I was trying to figure out the platform, but the other was because I wanted to share that type of experience, not my negativity, but I wanted to turn all that negative energy into something positive. And I really believe that if you put your heart into it and you give some effort and you make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and that's really what this whole thing was about for me.
It makes sense. I mean, like I said, I make bonds through gaming. I got the same friend group. They were, at my wedding when I got married with my wife. That I friendships that I made because of gaming in high school. That those bonds are still there through college, through us not gaming because everything ended in '97 when the GM got like a real job and didn't have weekends off or and worked evenings. And but the bond still remains, right? Like I've made true friends through VTT gaming and socializing to the point where I'm to throw him out there. Matt Jackson, who's an excellent mapper, does some great maps. Matt almost got killed with a ladder at his job. So what did we do when he came back to the game? We had to put a ladder in there that was aggressive. It was a ladder mimic, and it attacked him. Why do you do that? Because you have real bonds with these people,
Yeah.
and we're talking about VTTs, and we shall be. You can make those bonds over a VTT. That's when it turns from just a game session to a gaming group. I mean,
Yes.
that's it, and that's something that's very special, because when you can bust on people for events that are happening in their life, and it's not taken personally, it's taken as, okay, these are my friends, they're busting my balls. Well, that's what friendship really is, because you don't do it if you don't care. You don't do it
Correct.
maliciously. You do it because, well, we were concerned we were actually going to lose one of the guys in our group.
Yeah.
And we didn't, thank God. So here's our way to, thank you for coming back. Here's a ladder mimic attacking you. God bless you. But it forges friendships in a safe manner, but it also forges bonds, right? Because
hmm
you're experiencing, even though it's a game, you're experiencing drama, you're experiencing uh, great events, you're experiencing negative events, but you're experiencing it together. And that makes bonds that are very similar to just real life events. And people don't realize that, friendships forged in gaming do last often decades
Yeah,
because of that.
I agree. And, just for the short time well, it's been 8 years now. This is our 8th year celebration for Founders Day. But really, Founders Day isn't about me. It's about everyone, including you guys. And, I wouldn't meet all these people if I wasn't doing this. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think that having this kind of platform to connect with people is a really positive thing in the long run. And I get people once in a while that thank me. They said, my kids moved out. I can't play with them anymore. Thank you for at least taking the time to show me how to use this so I can continue doing that. And another guy who was having alcoholism problems and, spending his money on bad things. And he said, you've kept me out of the gutter for, several months. I'm spending money now on fantasy grounds instead of my vices. So thank you for that, and just all kinds of things. I've worked with disabled people. And so, I mean, I wouldn't trade that for nothing, to be honest with you. It's a really good thing. It's positive. Very,
Oh yeah.
very few negative experiences.
Well, you need
Adding
the
to what
negative experiences to balance out the world anyway. So
Yes. It's how you learned.
adding to what Eric said, I was thinking as he was talking about, he's talking about his friends that he met, and that he's had. All of my friends that I have are gaming friends, one way or another. We met through either D&D or computer games like EverQuest or something like that, and we've all been together for decades. I mean, I had a friend passed about a year ago, and I'd known him for 40 years. I didn't even think about it at the time. It's like 40 something years I knew this guy. But I
Wow.
mean, and I have some other friends that are, same, our high school buddies are all about that. But, a lot of the newer guys were from, you know, VTT or, electronic games and stuff. But, now we get together, we meet, we have lunch, dinner, our families know each other. It's just, you know, it's a way to get to meet people, I guess. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't. I'm a homebody.
And you
well,
guys,
you meet and you bond.
exactly.
Gaming is a bond. It's a bonding experience that very few other activities really give you that ability. And of course socialization, both before and after the game.
hmm
And the ball busting that usually happens before the game when everybody catches up on the previous week. If I schedule an 8 o'clock game, people got to show up at 7:30 because we need the half an hour of what's going on in your lives, what's this, a little busting, and then you always have the 15 to 30 minutes at the end of the recap of the game, and this happened and that happened, and that's all bonding. That's really why it works so well, and it's why even when I'm not actively in a game, I'm still in a text group with my regular, VTT gaming group of mostly game designers. I don't consider myself a game designer, but they mostly are. And I got to the point where I have to turn off text notifications because it's that active a text group. God knows if I was still working, I'd have to leave my phone home
Oh
because
yeah.
it would be a detriment. But
I
those are the bonds
actually
you make.
I actually had to take Discord off my phone at one point because I just had way too many PMs, and there was a time where I was just consuming, just putting so much effort into building a community and trying to keep everyone together and trying to keep people from fighting, and it became a burden. But now the engagement's been kind of lower, and I've kind of relaxed more, not as so uptight about it, and just want to have more fun now, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. And then, a user recently told me, says, "You ever thought about just hanging up your hat for the community?" And I said, "Yeah, maybe. I've thought about it a couple times, but maybe number 10, I'll step down and give it to someone else to take over, because I want to start playing more and having fun, and maybe making stuff, like spending more time building content instead of running a community."
Yeah,
You know,
I that definitely has helped me. I kind of stepped back. I used to stream every weekend and all this stuff. So I've kind of stepped back from that to focus more on just the playing with my friends and stuff like that. So I can certainly say from my perspective that giving yourself a little space to have your own enjoyment certainly helps health
Yeah.
wise.
Erik, do you get to participate in any online games at all, or is it all around the
uh,
table?
most of my gaming is online. So I was in a 2-year long AD&D 2E campaign with Joe the Lawyer and a bunch of others from the OSR community. And the ongoing joke was, Joe was like, "Oh, it's 2E by the book," and then by the end of the 2-year campaign, we were over 20 pages of house rules, and that's only because I kept on busting his balls. And when he would add a house rule, he would just decrease the font, but wouldn't go beyond 20 pages because. That wrapped up in April, and then Don Samora from Wizard Tower Games just started running an AD&D 1A game for myself, my wife, Tom Veralt, uh, his wife, and Don's wife. So we got a group of 5, again using a VTT, one that I don't even know and couldn't even tell you what it's called. I don't recognize it, but there's a bunch out there. But you know, it's it's all about gaming with people that you're friends with. I game at conventions because I like to meet people and see other ways of other DM styles and get experience with new games. And I socialize at conventions. I may be playing a game a day, but most of my time is there to socialize. But when I game, I want to game with my friends, right? I, that's what I want, because I want that experience of hanging out with my people, right?
Yep. Yeah, I can agree with that. And the other thing I really like, you guys mentioned this throughout this talk here, is that the hobby itself kind of implies that you're going to be putting to use some skills that you didn't have before. So, like video editing, we were talking about earlier, which I don't like, but that's a skill. Reading, writing, math, you keep that going, and it kind of keeps your mind sharp, right? So
Yeah.
you don't get so stagnant and watching football and bad news all day long on TV, which I don't do.
We see there.
I mean, because of gaming, in junior high school, I always had a pocket dictionary in my book bag because Gygaxian prose. I learned a lot just by interpreting a lot of these words from. Okay, what context is it? Maybe I can make a valid guess at what this is, but my vocabulary was certainly far beyond that of most seventh and eighth graders because you were forced to be that way if you were going to play AD&D because Gary wasn't going to hold your hand and he wasn't going to give you a glossary in the back of what all these obtuse words meant. You've got to learn them. In my case, that meant I needed a dictionary because I needed to know.
Yeah, I hear you. It helped me with my writing for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's definitely exposed me to a lot of different technologies. Just trying to do all the things you want to do. I mean, just you start messing with OBS, and then all the stuff that's underlying OBS, and then you want to set up a game in the VTT, and you're like, oh, this map, it looks terrible. Let me make a digital version of it. And so you got to learn a mapping tool, and there's like 10 different ones of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been using Campaign Cartographer since the 90s, and I still hate that thing. It's so
I hear
hard to use. But I mean, it does everything. But it's just so many pieces that of things that I've picked up. It's kept me up, kept my brain going. So
Yeah.
I like it. New things is good.
So, do you guys have anything new coming up? I guess we'll get to that segment now. So we'll start with Tenkar here at Erik. So, do you got anything coming up, or anything new or cool that you could share with us that's not under a non-disclosure agreement?
Oh, see, well, that would probably kind of be it. Like, so I was working on what was going to be a revision to Swords and Wizardry Continual Light, which is my minimalistic Swords and Wizardry rules. And when Matt Finch left Frog God, the first thing I thought of, from my perspective, was Matt and Frog God allowed me to use Swords and Wizardry and the licensing. But if Matt's got his own shingle out and is going to be doing his own business, I don't want to dilute his market. So I was already rebranding to Continual Light, and then it was going to be Blades and Sorcery. I like that, but then Don Samoro, who I'm working with, ran it past Tim Kask, who is going to be the editor of the final product. And the first thing Tim said is, "You can't call your game BS." I'm like, that's the whole
absolutely
point.
could.
That's awesome.
That's the whole point. That's the reason why. I go, the marketing push right there was perfect. But yeah, Tim shot that down. So then we toyed with Blades and Arcana. But now there is something else that's in the works that I cannot talk about.
Okay.
But it is relevant to the conversation that we've been having today. And it hopefully before the next week or two is out, there'll be an announcement, and then I can talk more fully. It's not my project, but I will be involved in it. So I'm just it's gonna be an interesting summer. I'll leave it like that.
All right, cool. Mike, when you're talking about or earlier about something you might be working on.
Yeah, so I've been working, speaking of Matt, with them to have a VTT platform for their new OSRIC 3. The rule set will support OSRIC 3 mechanics, as well as some other variants of that type of game, any of the OSR of the AD&D sort of era. But the key thing is their content, to be able to get that in the VTT, so you don't have to code in all the little intricacies for spells or items or actors and that kind of stuff. So working with them, that's going to be a project that mostly depends on their schedule for me. So I'm not sure when it will be done, but it is an ongoing, long term, probably next 6 to 8 months, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But somewhere around there.
Are you making a parsing tool for it?
No, it's actually going to be in the Foundry VTT
Okay.
directly in there, so
nice.
They'll be able to just use it straight up.
Sweet.
I am parsing the data they're giving me,
yeah.
so that they don't have to.
Cool.
In fact, we were talking about their documentation for the rules. Once I get a copy of the rules, it'll parse it and then put it into a journal system to where in the VTT you can see it as like a book and read it. Without a lot of hand wringing, copy pasting and stuff to get that there.
Yeah, that's very time consuming.
Yes, you know exactly what I mean. If you've converted anything in Fantasy Grounds, you know how tedious that can be, especially if you're working from a PDF that has crappy OCR.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that out there, and I do recommend if anyone's doing conversions to just buy the PDF, get the good quality version. If you get something that's lowbrow or something from a third-party source or something, or even bootlegged, it's not worth it. It's definitely just not worth the heartache.
And if you're converting it for Fantasy Grounds, I would talk to Doug, and especially if it's the TSR era AD&D stuff, they can request those from WotC, and they'll give us a copy of that to, the cleanest version that they have, and then you can use that. So.
That's cool.
Nice.
So maybe you guys can come together later once these projects are further along. Get your project in there, the OSR 3. Maybe you guys both know Matt. So
yeah, no, and Matt's good people. I mean, I first met Matt at my first North Texas in 2014, and sat down with me and my wife and had breakfast with us. And as somebody to have breakfast with Matt Finch, I was like, what? He's like, oh, come on, we can talk about New York. I lived in New York for like 3 years, and I was totally not as speechless as I was with one other special guest one year. But Matt did shock me by just sitting down and having a great conversation. If you've never met Matt, he's one of the nicest people in the gaming industry, and is very willing to share his knowledge and his insights into the hobby and into publishing as best he can. So, good people to know. Seriously.
Let's see.
I've been in his game twice at North Texas RPG Con with his Mage Tower. I think that's what he calls it.
Mrs. Tower. Yes.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I was in that one twice, 2 different years, and I know him. I think he knows who I am at this point, but back then I didn't. And at that one of those same conventions, I played in Tim Cass's game and Mincer's game. That back then, that was the early days of North Texas RPG Con, where there was a ton of the old parts there. It was great.
Oh yeah, well that's the whole thing too. Like they're getting older. Myself and Ben Mike mentioned this a lot on Wednesday nights. If you want to meet the people that founded this hobby, your time is getting short. You got to go to conventions. You got to find ways going there. I understand that Frank was at EggCon this weekend, but I think they canceled his games because he had a medical issue. So, I mean, no, they're not getting any younger. I spoke with Tim at WizardCon, and Tim's cutting back on the conventions that he's going to because traveling is an issue at this point. But my question about playing with Matt Finch is, how many players were in the game?
Oh, there was like 20.
Yeah, like 20. There we go. All right. So
it was like around the table.
Yeah. How do you know you played with Matt?
He stands on the table or on a chair. One of the two.
He stands on the tables. And does he still seat people by dexterity? Because
back when I was doing it, yeah.
Okay, same here. So I actually had to knock a point off my dexterity so I could sit next to my wife. I was like, All right, I'll hurt myself here, but yes. But no, Matt runs an amazing game. I
That's
really, he's my inspiration. I can run at a convention using a lighter rule set like Swords with Relight. I can run with about a dozen players. Uh, I'll take walk-ups as long as I can fit them at the table. But 20 is a bit beyond even my ability. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's much.
yeah.
I
I
think
think one
8's
of them
my
had
max.
23.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see
I
that.
had. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to comment on the number of people. I just recently split my group just because it's gotten so big. For me, running 8 people on a VTT is a lot different than running 8 people at a table.
Thank you. That is true. I think my VTT max is probably 5 or 6 players, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and there's a reason for it. We've all my experience is mostly running with Roll20, but the reason is because if I'm running at a convention, I don't sit. I will circle the table. I'll give my chair to another player that wants to walk up. I will walk up to my players and engage them when it's their move, when they're taking their action, or somebody has a question. I'm right on top of it. But on the VTT, distractions are king. And if you aren't keeping things moving quickly, and you got to do that at a convention too, but it's easier at a convention, strangely enough, because your players can all reach out to you at once, but they don't get lost except maybe in the background noise. But with the VTT, especially if you don't have cameras on,
Yep.
Somebody's wandering off for a bathroom break. Somebody is uh, programming something in the background. Somebody's doing writing their adventure for whatever.
Or on their
They're
phone.
people multitask when they're on a computer.
I agree.
That's become society's norm. You don't multitask at a game table in front of people, because if you do, can you do me a favor? Can you get off your phone for a moment? We're gaming. You can call people on it, but on the VTT, it's not like certain remote jobs have it where the camera looks for your eyes and your eye movement
Yeah.
and make sure that you're actually like doing the work you're supposed to be doing, not watching cat videos. I don't know if we have a VTT that's quite at that level yet, but you might need that. But yeah, five. I've run with as many as 6, but if I was doing a pickup group on a VTT, 4 max. But with a regular group, I could probably hit about 6.
Yeah.
But it goes south quickly after that. It really
I agree
does.
with you totally. I ran a table
I've
for about
had
a year and a half. It was that way.
I've had about 8 for about 4 months, 5 months, and I'm like, guys, this is too much. There's trying to keep track of everybody, and like you say, with no cameras, we never use cameras. It's a extra
Right.
hassle. But also just the delay on microphones. People don't want to interrupt, so they stay quiet. They're not as engaging as they would be at a table. You can see like somebody, they're talking, and when you're at a table, and you can see when they stop and they're done, and somebody else can immediately start talking after that. But on the VTT, it's a little harder.
Hmm.
So definitely, I'm shooting for 5. That's my cap now.
Yeah. Well, we used to
But
go by combat tracker order, so we wouldn't talk over each other because that was a big issue without the cameras. So we try to limit, but that kind of sucks for like role playing. Like it kind of stifles it a little if you do it that way.
When my regular group on Roll20, Joe the Lawyer's group, it's got like Tim Shorts, Matt Jackson in and out, Greg Christopher, Rob Conley, all old school gamers. But and a few others that drop in and drop out. We run it on Roll20, but we don't use the Roll20 video and audio because my experience over the years has been less than optimal. But we have a Discord for the game, and we have that. I'll have that on my second screen so I can always see the faces or but that goes there, and my main screen has my the Roll20 going on.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's like a hybrid style of playing. It kind of reminds me that Fantasy Grounds, even though it is localized and it's not a portal, it has an advantage in the fact that if you took a laptop and batteries, you basically take all your books instead of a big duffel bag and just pre-print out your character sheets and then play around a table while you're camping, because you don't necessarily have to be online, right? All your books are there, and you just role play around the table with the battery, a couple batteries and a laptop. That's right there is cool. I like that idea, but being connected online all the time isn't my ideal version of playing.
When I first retired, I got invited to a local group out in Long Island, which, as the crow flies, should be about a 30-minute drive, but on a Thursday night during rush hour, it was like an hour and a half. But it was every other week, and it was an old school. It was an AD&D 1E game. They knew me from. I knew like one or two of the people from online, but otherwise it was fun. We did it for about a year before people started moving away. But the group never coalesced and bonded like my VTT groups bonded. I don't know. Maybe because we played in a game store or not at somebody's house. There was just something that kept it from being that ball busting, usual relaxation. It was a great time. It was a fun group, but it was felt more organized than the disorganized, crazy VTT sessions that we normally have. So strange how that works out. You would think that one would be more interpersonal, more real, and I find that the VTT sessions that I have, it's the people. When it comes down to it,
yeah,
right?
and the
you
environment.
Bond with the right people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you're gaming with them, whether it's at a table or over a VTT. I guess it's going to be good.
Yeah, the environment definitely influences some things. Like some people might be afraid to act out in public, but like you said, if you're at home, they might be more comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes good sense.
Virtual tabletop, same thing. You're half the time you're hidden behind the screen, so you can kind of act out there, I guess.
Yeah.
Some people feel like morons, like I do. I don't like being on camera very much, but when I am, I'm not like scared or anything. I just prefer not to be. I think I'm too ugly for camera.
Face made for radio. I've been told that for years.
Yeah. Okay. So I heard that you're doing a stream tonight. So what's that about, Erik?
So it's Inappropriate Characters Rerolled. It's actually on Rumble and X.
Okay.
And it's the last Saturday of every month. It's Ryan Howard and Grim Jim Desborough, game designer of Machinations of the Space Princess, and I believe the Gore role-playing game, which maybe more or less is said about that. If anybody read the Gore fiction, I made it through 6 books as a older teen, and then went I bought the books at a garage sale. They were like 10 cents each. They were worth the 10 cents that I paid for it. I'm not saying they weren't. I wasn't going to buy the next 24 books in the series at full price, which wasn't. But no, we talk about topical stuff. It's a bit more edgy than my normal live streams, but I have fun because I sit with people that don't necessarily approach gaming from the perspective that I do, but or life from my perspective. Besides the fact that Jim is a Brit and brings a whole different perspective to things. But I enjoy it because I'm not hosting it. It's not like today. I get to be a guest. I get to relax, let my long hair out, which is way overdue for a haircut, and enjoy myself, as opposed to when you're the host. It's a different. You gotta take care of the chat and be more responsible.
Oh, I know. I hear you. Mike, you got anything going on other than running your games and such?
I don't really have anything on social media for I don't stream anymore. Typically on Twitch, I may once in a blue moon do something depending on what's if I got something coming out for Fantasy Grounds or something. But my YouTube is pretty much where all my new stuff goes. Gives me a chance to kind of go through it and not have to do it live, which is very distracting for me in my game.
I hear you.
So,
do you guys both have Patreons as well?
I used to. I mothballed my Patreon.
Okay. Well, when the video is done, when we're done streaming, I will put you guys' links in there. And I really do hope that you guys get together at some point in the future and work on something that contributes to the OSR, BECMI, first edition, second edition, Wizards, Sorcery and Wizards, and all that stuff. So
I'll try again to run a game on the OSRIC or something.
That'd be cool.
I'd love that.
Also, just a quick shout out to Boffrin, who kind of helped facilitate this. He's been pushing me for years to get you and I connected together, Erik. And I don't know why it didn't happen sooner, but now that things are calmed down and I'm not so uptight about everything, maybe it's a better time.
Boffrin is a force of nature.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy. I like him a lot. He's saved my neck quite a few times. When we have a bat signal thing, and he knows if I summon him, he knows the shit's hitting the fan or something like that. So
there you go.
I don't bug him otherwise. I just say, hey, I don't talk to him on a daily basis anymore. But if I do reach out to him, it's serious. I told him that. I said, let's keep that between us. And if I reach out to you, it's because I really need something, or something's fucked up or whatever, So anyhow, I think we're going to call it a wrap. We've gone for a little bit more than an hour, not much. You guys have anything? Anything else?
No. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate the invite. This was good.
I was told.
I enjoyed chatting with you guys.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was told to talk about Tenkar's drive-through RPG links and your Humble Bundle link. If I'm going to put anything up on our...
Okay, well...
send it to me later, maybe.
Yeah, I'll definitely.
You got a fan somewhere out here in the internet.
Oh, okay.
So somebody's like, hey, why don't you put those links there? Yeah, no problem. I can research that.
We'll put them in the show link and then show notes.
Yeah, show notes. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming, and this kind of wraps up our Founders Day weekend. I mean, we didn't have as many events, which I'm kind of glad because I only like to do a couple anyways. But to have people volunteering and coming in and running games and doing these seminars and doing these talks is really cool. And I hope we can do it again next year. Previous years, I had like 30 events, which is a pretty big weekend. But now I think we had like 8 or something like that. So that's a, for a smaller niche kind of group, that was pretty good, actually. The 30 was because I was trying to book people like Luke Gygax and, doing all that kind of stuff. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of tracking people down. You know what that's like. And I'm going to keep doing my 5e tutorials, but I'm going to take a look at some of Mike's older stuff for AD&D, and maybe I'll start doing some of those because I've been bothered and pestered and accused and everything else that I don't like. Well, you don't like second edition, or you don't, that's not the case, but
Argonauts get very defensive of their space. Come on,
I know.
You gotta give them
if you have any questions, feel free to throw them at me.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right, I'm going to call it, and I'm going to end the stream. But if you guys have any comments or anything, leave them in the appropriate places. And then if it's something directly for Erik, you can reach out to him. He's pretty approachable. Mike might take a day or two to get back to you, but he will. And as far as Fantasy Grounds goes, it does have the licensed content for the classic. So if you guys want to try to figure out how to use a virtual tabletop to run your games with your friends across the country and the world, I mean, that's the way to go right now anyway. So, all right,
Absolutely.
guys. Happy